Okay, class. So here we are back with understanding the structures, the cell structures that we have got within the living organisms. In the previous lecture, we have looked on toward the structures that we have in the animal cells and we have related them to the functions they were performing. And in today's class, we're gonna look on toward the plant cell. So most of the things that we have in the plant cells, they are same as in the animal cell, but there would be little differences. Like since the word cell is coming, so this is evident it would have the nucleus, the cytoplasm, and it would have the cell membrane, and collectively these three components they would make the protoplasm of the plant cell. Now, the mitochondria would be the same as we have got in the animal cell. Okay, the ribosomes that we had got in the animal cells, that would be the same here. But there are some different structures coming that we didn't see in case of the animal cell, and that would be the chloroplast, that would be the cell wall for the animal cells. I kept on emphasizing that the animal cell has got some small, numerous, temporarily existing vacuoles, but when we talk about the plant cells that we have here, so they're gonna have a large permanent vacuole in them. Okay, so most of the things here they are same as animal cell, but with an exception of this, and this. So we don't have to again discuss what's with the nucleus, the cytoplasm, the cell membrane. We have to be looking on these structures. So here we have got the plant cell structure to be understanding. Like this is my hand drawn. So here you see we have got this as the cell wall. Immediately below the cell wall, we have got the thing that we had seen in the animal cell as well. So this is the cell membrane that we have got. Now, since there comes a large vacuole, and this large vacuole is large and permanent, and this is centrally located, so the nucleus it would push it towards one side. Again, in your exams, like the chloroplasts that these plant cells they have got now, overall they are lying here in the cytoplasm, isn't it? Like here we have the cell membrane and here we have the nucleus. So this is a fluid-filled space, and that is gonna be the cytoplasm with me. And in the cytoplasm, you see, guys, here we have the chloroplast, and this is a chloroplast. So either representation can be given by the examiner, and from those representation, you have to identify that whether this is a chloroplast. You don't have to confuse it with the mitochondria because the mitochondria that we have in the animal cell, the same configuration this is got in the plant cell. Like there is gonna be this outer membrane with us, and then there is gonna be an inner membrane with us. Okay, so now here again we have got these ribosomes. But the things that you have to be keeping in mind is that this large vacuole that we have, so this has got some solution filled within it. Okay, the one that I have indicated here with the yellow marking. So this is cell sap. And the outer covering or the outer membrane of the large vacuole is what we people are gonna be referring to this as tonoplast. Okay, so most of the things are same, but here we see an exception of the cell wall, the presence of the chloroplast and the large vacuole. So these are what we have to see. Okay, the other things that we had got here, so they are already discussed in my previous lecture. So here let us see that what we have got in the cell wall. We are gonna see later in this course that we have got some sugars with us here, the carbohydrates, and among the carbohydrates we have got some complex sugars. And in those complex sugars, we have got this word to be remembering. That word is starch with us. Okay, so you just have to remember the word starch, you have to remember the word glycogen, you have to remember the word cellulose, that they are the complex sugar. How they're going to be formed, we will look in the chapter of the biological molecules. Okay, so the situation here is that why was it necessary for the plant cells to be possessing the cell walls? Like us, they could have the cell membrane only, but why did they develop this cell wall? So the thing is very simple that we human beings, like we are more into an isolated environment, but as far as the plants are concerned, so these plants they lie in the external environment where they have to be exposed to a lot of harsh conditions, the wind, either the hit by the animal, okay, the rainfall, and a lot of sunlight they would be exposed to. So the cell wall is composed of the cellulose. Okay, so as I've said, that you have to just remember that the complex sugars with us are the starch, the cellulose, and the glycogen. So this cell wall is going to be made up of a complex sugar, and that complex sugar is the cellulose. And how I'm going to make the cellulose, like the glucose molecules we will have, and we would we learned about the glucose earlier in case of the respiration where this was utilized for the aerobic respiration. But in the plants are gonna make the glucose by photosynthesis. These glucose molecules, they would be linked with one another. And when they're gonna be linked with one another, so they're gonna be making, you could say, this complex sugar out of it, and that complex sugar is the cellulose, a polysaccharide, and that is gonna make the cell wall. Now, for the functions thing, you must know that this is gonna be providing the plant a protection from some mechanical injury. As I have said, they're in the external environment, so any animal can come and they can hit it. So this is providing the mechanical kind of a protection from the mechanical injury, and they would provide the strength. And you see, as far as our human body is concerned, so over there we have got these bones and the muscles that would be giving some shape or structure to our body. But for the plant cells, if they have to be maintaining their shape, we will see that how the different shape of the plant cells look like. Like if I draw it for you, we have got some cells that are the epidermal cells, so they look like this. Okay. And likewise, if I have to be drawing the palisade cells, so these palisade cells, they might look like this. Okay, and as far as the guard cells they are concerned, so they happen to be having the shape that is a little bit kind of a bean shaped kind of a thing. So the plant cells, they have got different shapes of their cells, and if these cells they have to be maintaining their shape, so for sure there has to be something out of their cell membrane, and that is the cell wall with us. Earlier in case of the cell membrane, I cleared it well, that was partially permeable, like some substances were allowed to move out of the cell membrane into the cell membrane to the cytoplasm of the cell, but this cell wall is going to be fully permeable. Now, guys, here we have got this large vacuole to be discussing, and as I mentioned in the previous diagram, that the large vacuole have got its own outer membrane, and that is the tonoplast with us. And the solution that we have got within the large vacuole, so that is going to be referred to as the cell sap. And the cell sap and the tonoplast collectively they are going to make the large vacuole, and this is permanent, and this would be one, with exception for the guard cells of the plant where there could be multiple vacuoles, not as small as animal cell, but usually in this course you just have to see as that there would be availability of one large central permanent vacuole. Now the situation here is that okay, fine, we have the large vacuole, and this is storing the cell sap. So what we have got in the cell sap would be the food particles that are going to be stored here. The waste materials are going to be stored here. And some of the pigments, like when you go to the market to buy some vegetables and the fruits, so you people may have observed that they have got multiple colors for them, isn't it? So, from your junior classes, you know about one of the pigment, and that is the chlorophyll that is stored within the chloroplast, but that is going to impart the green color to the leaves. But as far as the fruits and the vegetables, the flowers that we have, they are a lot more colorful. They could be yellow, they could be red, orange color. So those pigments, they would be stored here again in the cell sap of this large vacuole that we people have here. And from your MCQ's point of view, you must remember that these large vacuole, they have got their own outer membrane, like the cell has a cell membrane. So like that, this large vacuole has got its own membrane, and that membrane would be the tonoplast. And then comes this guy right here. Like if I just revert back a bit. So I have told you that how the examiner is gonna present these chloroplasts to you. So either they're gonna look like this, they're gonna look like this. And here you see I have made some further small membranes on the inside. Okay, so for the mitochondria, as I said, that they have got an outer and inner membrane. So likewise, the chloroplast that we have here in case of the plant cells, again, they're gonna be having the two membranes in them. So this is how, in detail, the chloroplast is going to look like. Now, what these membranes are, this is not again the IGCSE course that we have to discuss, but later in your higher courses, you will see that these membranes, they are the thylakoid membranes, and their purpose is to be absorbing the light. Okay. So the chloroplast, they have this green pigment. Unlike the other colored pigments that we have in the large vacuole, so this chloroplast would have these green photosynthetic pigments in them, and these green photosynthetic pigment are the chlorophyll. So the name of the organelle, students, overall is a chloroplast, and the pigments that we have in them, the chlorophyll pigments, so they would be stored here in the thylakoid membranes, and they are the site of the photosynthesis. And I believe, uh, being in IGCSEs, You people would know already that photosynthesis is a chemical process where the plants are going to make their own food by using carbon dioxide, water, and having these green photosynthetic pigment because it would allow the light to be absorbed. As with the respiration, so you guys need to know the word equation and the chemical equation of this. So this chemical equation is entirely opposite of the respiration. Over there, the reactants were the glucose and the oxygen gas, but here the reactants are the carbon dioxide and the water. And when the chlorophyll is going to absorb the light, so we would end up making the glucose and oxygen gas out of it. And then if we just try to be looking on toward the chemical equation that we have here, so here again I have got 6 molecules of CO2. They would combine with 6 molecules of water. We would end up making this glucose molecule. 1 molecule of glucose and six would be that of the oxygen gas that we have. Now, since these plants they have got the ability to be making their own food, so those organisms that make their own food, so we give them a particular term, and that particular term that we use for such organism, this is arthropods. And here again, we people must not forget to now differentiate between the animal and the plant cell. And I hope you people would remember now from the previous classes that the animal cells they have large permanent vacuole. The animal cells they don't have it, but the plant cells they have got large permanent vacuole. The animal cells we didn't see any chloroplasts in them. The plant cells they're gonna have it. And if you guys could see in this diagram that I have made for you people, so I did not make any of the centrioles close to the nucleus. But when we were discussing about the animal cells, so close to the nucleus, we have the centrioles. So these centrioles, they are the characteristic feature of an animal cell, and they will not be lying in case of the plant cell. So the animal cell have the centrioles, the plant cells, they lack the centriole. And again, the animal cells, they were not having any of the cell wall in them, but these plant cells, they would have the cell wall in them.